Hi, here's a quick review of Apollo, which is one of the best lead generation, sales intelligence, and engagement tools that I've seen, for especially for SaaS businesses. And I'm just going to give you a little bit of an overview of my favorite features, how, Apollo compares against competitors, primarily Lusha and Zoominfo, how much it costs, and, give you a preview of the Chrome extension that they have, which is one of the best things that they have, and really just give you my analysis on if you should invest in a tool like Apollo or not, and if you were to do that, what would be the use cases for it, right? So, there's just the homepage of Apollo, and I really like when they say, that you can reach every buyer on earth on Apollo, which is very true. But I would rephrase it as reach every B2B buyer on earth. They've got probably the biggest database among all of these sales intelligence companies. It's a bigger database than Lusha or Zoominfo with 250 million contacts, and the accuracy is top notch. Like I think like at least 9 out of 10 contacts that I've seen have the correct information, the correct job, the correct email, phone number, LinkedIn, everything. So I'm just going to break apart my review into like the three aspects of Apollo and my three favorite features kind of relating to that, right? So the first one is really to generate leads. Now, you can generate leads in Apollo, through two ways. One is through, Apollo's, own dashboard. So, once you kind of sign up for an account and signing up for Apollo is pretty self-serve. It just takes a minute and they've got a generous free plan. You basically enter a dashboard like this, right? And now you can, if you go into search, you can start prospecting, right? And what they do is they basically provide you, set of filters that you can choose, so in this particular case, I've targeted, software company CEOs, who've gone through YC based in the United States. And basically, created this list. And you can actually go really deep into it, based on, the overall team size, based on what technology they use. Let's say, if you're looking for CEOs, that have implemented Salesforce or GitHub in their organization, you can do that. You can filter by buyer intent and all sorts of things, and it gives you like a full data of like the email, phone numbers, everything, right? And in just one click you can put them into your list. The other way is by using their Chrome extension. And so Apollo has a Chrome extension, which I think largely the use case is for LinkedIn prospecting, but you can use their Chrome extension in Google Calendar and Gmail and any other website. But it's one of the best things about Apollo. Their Chrome extension works so well inside LinkedIn. I'll just give you a little bit of preview. So you can prospect through Apollo's Chrome extension on LinkedIn through two ways. One is if you go, search on Google, right? And in this case, again, I search for CEOs, YC CEOs, providing information technology services based in the US, right? And I got, let's say, these four results, right? Now I can, choose them one by one, or I can just, select, them all and then add them to my list, right? So I have a list for pitching my audit service, and in one click that data will go there. So this is a way to kind of send bulk contacts into your list, right? So I mean, like, to just kind of summarize, right? Like, so through Apollo's interface you can prospect hundreds of contacts in one go, right? But it'd be hard to kind of filter through the quality, as in like how well do they match your requirements, right? Then there's like a step further, which is a little bit more detailed research, which is through LinkedIn's search itself, and then you can pick and choose who you want to import to a list. And then lastly, you can really go into each contact, right? So for example, I went to this contact, Venkatesh, who's the CEO at StayFlexi, and then Apollo has this beautiful thing in here where you can basically just click on Save Contact, right? And then just select the list you want to kind of import it to, and then it adds their email address, their mobile number, everything, and it's done. Like the email, the phone number, everything done. You don't have to do anything else. Now, where it's even more helpful is, let's say, for example, you found, contact and you were send them immediately a specific message, right? Then you can kind of explore the sequences, and then you can basically, create a sequence. I'll just get to that in a minute, right? So, I mean, it's super easy to first of all collect the leads, into Apollo, right? So we talked about, prospecting through Apollo's interface, through their Chrome extension, right? And then you can basically go into your lists in here, right? And so, my list is the pitch audit service, right? And so now here I have all the contacts, with their information and everything in here. That's the first thing about Apollo. It helps you prospect really, really well. The second thing, which is another one of my favorite features, is data enrichment, right? So this is, obviously, a lot of these people, um, you did your prospecting, and these are all cold leads. Sometimes you might have, warm leads, let's say people who downloaded an ebook of yours, right, and have some kind of a warm touch, right? And you have all of their emails, but you need the rest of the data, right? So then that's when you kind of go into the enrichment, right? Now you can enrich through, either connecting your Salesforce or HubSpot account where all of your leads are there. Or in my case, I use the CSV enrichment where I just export out, let's say, my contacts from Substack, anyone who's subscribed to my newsletter. I upload the CSV and it enriches it automatically, and then I can put it in a list, right? So in my case, just to kind of give you an example, my Substack subscribers, I imported about 8 of my Substack subscribers, and all I had at that time was just their email, right? And what it did is, it found their titles, it found their location, it found their emails, and it found their LinkedIn profiles, it found everything, like their phone numbers, all of that, right? So enrichment works really, really well, primarily because Apollo's, one of the biggest things about Apollo is that they've got a data accuracy of like more than 90%, right? So 9 out of 10 times the contact, that you get the data about is going to be accurate, because they're so particular about everything. Even if someone changes their jobs, they immediately update it, right? So, in my case, I switched like a month ago, and the data is already there, and you can actually set change alerts, right? So for example, if you have a contact in your list, right, and let's say they moved companies, right, you can basically make that change immediately. Like you can basically reach out to them. It's like, hey, you switch jobs, do you have a requirement for this solution in your new company, right? And it works really well, right? So we've covered lead generation, which is, one of my favorite features. We've covered enrichment, where it basically enriches any data, and with more and more informations like mobile numbers, LinkedIn profile data, their current job, their locations, a lot of things, right? And once you've kind of have all of this data, it allows you to engage with these leads. So that's where the engagement module kind of comes in, right? Where you can basically create lots of different kind of sequences, be it email sequences, where you can send out an email sequence of 8, 9 emails over 2 months with multiple follow-ups, right? You can, make it a, how do I say, like omni-channel outreach, where you can have some emails, some calls, sometimes a Zoom meeting or whatever, right? You can have tasks, and there's really a lot of things you can do, right? So to create a sequence is super simple. You go in here, you can either create a new sequence, you can use a pre-built sequence. For example, this is a pre-built sequence that I took, which is, when prospects change their job, and it automatically adds, the emails, and then, you can go in and basically change things here and there, right? And of course, it allows you to kind of create, all sorts of templates, and, it gives you a very, thorough report of like how the campaigns were performing, right? Like what was the open rate, what was the engagement rate, everything. So, in a way, Apollo is basically an all-in-one suite. It really just, not only helps you, prospect the leads, not only helps you enrich the data, it also kind of helps you reach out to them and basically book meetings, right? And that's probably one of the most powerful things about Apollo. You know, and the Chrome extension works really well with all of these things, right? So for example, let's say I want to add this guy to an Apollo sequence, right? And I can just add him in here, and basically he'll just get an email from me, right? And then there's a lot more features, like I haven't activated that, but the Chrome extension allows you, let's say for example you have a meeting with a prospect in the future, right? So you can go into your Google Calendar, and when you click on the event, right, based on whoever is attending the meeting, it's going to automatically enrich the data in there and basically show you contact details about where they work, their LinkedIn profile, everything. So you don't have to do that research yourself, and it works really well. Before you're getting on a meeting with a prospect, just kind of get an idea of who this person is, what's their background, and all of that, right? So yeah, I mean, like it works pretty well. And then within Apollo, of course, there's a lot of different modes that you can be in, right? There's a sales rep mode where you're essentially kind of reaching out, doing the outreach, right? And then there's a sales manager, which is more focused towards giving you the analytics and managing your sales reps, right? So there's multi-account level syncing, right? Now, where what's usually the use case, where is Apollo the most useful, right? And I think the biggest use case that I've used Apollo for is to acquire first customers, for a SaaS company. I'm basically a marketer, and so essentially what I do is, startups and founders that are very small, right? Let's say they're trying to raise a round or trying to acquire, their first customers. Right. You can basically just go and prospect folks, and then just send out sequences saying that, hey, we've just come out of beta, do you want to try our product? Hey, you want to get on a chat? We're trying to solve this problem. Hey, we've got 1,000 paying customers, and we'd love for you to join us in our next funding round, right? And you can do all sorts of those sequences. But essentially, Apollo can be um, used by marketers, right? You could use it for, you know, recruiting affiliates, right? You could use it to, find influencers and, bloggers who are doing fairly, well, and basically, build a big list of people you could reach out to pitch your affiliate program, right? You could use it for your link building campaigns, right? If you want to reach out to, all sorts of blogs and try to see if, they want to kind of link back to you, it does that job really well. And the most important thing is that Apollo's, like I said, the database is super accurate, right? So there's very less chance that your emails will bounce because the contact didn't exist. It'll happen, but it's just going to happen once in a while, right? So that's why that's the kind of use case for marketers, right? For founders, like I said, it's great, to get your first customers, to get started with your sales efforts, your founder-led sales. It's great for onboarding investors. It's great for a lot of things. And then the last thing is for sellers, which is probably the biggest use case, right? Like let's say you've got a sales team and you're trying to get a lot of leads, reaching out to people and really make a splash in the market, right? With a proper sales team, with SDRs and account executives and customer success folks, right? You can use Apollo to basically, find the contacts, reach out to them, and basically start booking meetings, right? So there's a lot of dollar value coming out of Apollo, right? For a small investment, right? Now let's talk about how it compares against the two competitors, Zoominfo and Lusha, right? So I think probably the biggest thing that I see when comparing with Zoominfo and Lusha is that I think it has the biggest database. You can pretty much find anyone's contact details within B2B, right? And Apollo is a great fit, right? In Zoominfo and Lusha, sometimes you might not find the right contact, or sometimes the data might be outdated. But with Apollo, it's going to be pretty accurate, right? Um, And like you can see here, right? Zoominfo has 150 million contact records. Apollo has 250 million, so almost double of that. And even if you look at the phone numbers, right? Zoominfo is 50 million. Apollo has 120 million, right? So that the other thing that's different from Zoominfo is that you know, while Zoominfo does have, some outreach and engagement features, right? If you're looking for more advanced features, Apollo actually has a leg up there as well, right? So it allows you, if you're, let's say, sales team of 5 people and you've got a sales manager and you want to ensure that, sometimes if there's a, difficult conversation happening with a prospect, or there's a, big deal, if you're trying to coach your sales reps, right? You can basically jump onto calls, right? You can join active calls and basically collaborate, answer difficult questions, coach your sales reps, all of that through Apollo, right? Which is not possible in Zoominfo. Um, and then, like I said, I think there's no comparison to the Chrome extension that Apollo has. It is probably the best Chrome extension, that's out there for prospecting within LinkedIn, and it works really, really well. And then I think the last thing that I love about Apollo, which is really, they have like a bilateral sync with HubSpot and Salesforce. So what it allows is that, if you update any, data in Apollo, it'll update in HubSpot. If you update any data in HubSpot, it'll update it back into Apollo, right? So it ensures that there's no duplication, or there's no data mismatch within, your CRM, your CRM database, and your lead generation and sales intelligence tool. So that's kind of like the comparison with Zoominfo, right? Now, if you look at Lusha, it's a little bit, like it's a little bit more easier in terms of choosing, right? So again, Apollo, like I said, has the largest database, right? So Lusha has 100 million contact records. Apollo has 250 million. There's really no comparison. It has 2.5 times more contacts. Where Apollo wins again over Lusha is that it actually has, a lot more outreach and engagement features than Lusha, right? So it allows you to, you know, automate your entire outbound workflow through sequences. You can create automated emails, run A/B tests. You can even call folks, right? All of these things are not possible on inside Lusha. And like I said, bilateral CRM sync is one of the rarities, something that Apollo does pretty well. And another thing that is really cool about Apollo, like I mentioned earlier, is that when someone changes jobs, when a contact changes companies and everything, right, you can actually get an alert. But hey, this person switched jobs, so perhaps you can get another new customer, or know that someone's churning, and then you can kind of reach out to them and ensure that that doesn't happen, and you get the right contact details, right? So, it works really well. In terms of G2, Apollo is kind of like the number one lead generation tool that's available on G2 with like 2,700 reviews, highest rated. So it's really just a no-brainer, right? Apollo is an all-in-one software, for your sales intelligence and engagement, and really does everything from collecting the leads to booking meetings for you, right? Let's talk about pricing. So Apollo is, has a, like I said, has a free plan with 50 contacts per month, which is great, if you're just kind of trying it out a little bit, right? You can enrich 50 emails, get 5 mobile numbers. And then, you can scale it up from there, right? So the professional plan gives you 1,000 emails. And to be honest, I think this is enough, right? Like if you're reaching out to more than 1,000 people through cold outreach, you're probably not doing cold outreach well, right? You're probably sending out very generic messages, which is not great, right? You won't get results. And so with 1,000 emails, you can run like highly customized sequences for like specific sets of people, like CEOs of team size of 11 to 20, using Salesforce, that have gone through YC, that have running or creating a multimedia software, and now you have 8 folks that you can reach out to with like a very highly custom message. So it's 49, sorry, it's $49 a month, right? With annual billing, you get 20% off. And it really is worth it, because for example, with Lusha, you have to get a subscription for, just getting the contacts, and then you need another tool like Mailshake or another outreach tool. You pay for that, and then, all of those tools eventually add up costs and make it, 100, $200 per month. But for $49, you get an all-in-one tool as such. So, what's my assessment, right? Like, how do, what's my opinion about Apollo, right? I've used a lot of tools, right? I've used Find That Lead, I've used, Apollo, I've used Lusha, and Apollo does, everything pretty well, right? Like, it's really just focused towards, three aspects, like I keep saying, right? Lead generation, right? Data enrichment, and then engagement, right? Sales engagement. And it does really, really well. It has a lot of wide use cases, and it has a pretty basic pricing, right? Like for $49 or $24 as well, right? Like you get a pretty great bundling of features, right? So it completely makes sense as you compare it with competitors. There's no comparison. Like Apollo is hands down, one of the best lead generation tools. And even if you look at the G2 reviews or any others, like that's what it suggests, right? So I think it's worth investing in if you're a CEO who's looking to get your first, customers or investors, if you're a marketer who's, trying to get first customers, or trying to get, your affiliates, or doing any kind of cold outreach, link building outreach. It works really well. If you're a salesperson trying to book meetings, no better tool than Apollo to get all of that data, right? Now, this is just a brief overview. Of course, you can go deeper into, the tool, certain ways, certain specific ways of like how to find companies, how to use lists, how to create, utilize filters. I can explain a lot of that, but I think that'd be a separate video out there, right? So I hope this video was helpful, and if you like this video, um, definitely try out the free plan by clicking on my link in the YouTube video description. Have a wonderful day.